Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Orla and I'm delighted to be joined by João Ferreira from BZ in Portugal, who will be talking to you today about creating solutions for Microsoft Teams using Microsoft Lists. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC22. Don't forget to check out the Resource Centre. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the content link at the top. Continue your learning by joining us for our next webinar on the 13th of July, SAP Processes in Microsoft Power Platform as Easy as Pie, with Christian Talkman. For full details, check out sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. ESPC 22 returns live and in person in Copenhagen from the 28th of November to the 1st of December. The ESPC 22 program consists of 4 Microsoft keynotes, 9 tutorials, and 100 sessions, which will enable you to leverage Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365, Azure, Power Platform, SharePoint, and more to your greatest ability. View the full program at sharepointeurope.com. Book your team for ESPC now. Special group discount of 15% available for groups of 3+, but hurry as this special group discount ends tomorrow, the 30th of June 2022. Save even more with our early bird sale. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answer session. Type any question you have in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our presenter, João. Hello, João.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for attending this session about Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Lists. On today's session, I will try to explain you how you can build solutions for Microsoft Teams, taking advantage of the Microsoft Lists application, Microsoft Lists, and SharePoint, combining all these 3 things together to create applications that will be able to be used by users directly in Microsoft Teams without pretty much writing code. But before we jump into the session and into the details of the demo that I've prepared for you, let me introduce myself. So my name is João Ferreira. I'm from Portugal, currently living in Porto, and I'm a Microsoft MVP in the categories of Office development and Windows Insider. I've been working with Microsoft technology for more than 10 years now, mainly focused on collaboration solutions. So I started my career working with SharePoint, and I'm still working with SharePoint today. But I also embraced Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Lists. I'm actually author of 2 books, one about Microsoft Lists and another one about Microsoft Teams. So today I'm combining these 2 platforms to present to you how you can create solutions for Microsoft Teams using this new platform that Microsoft released about a year ago. So for those of you that don't know yet what Microsoft Lists is, and even though it has a new application, a new name, and a new logo, it's not something that it's totally new. Microsoft Lists is actually an evolution of SharePoint Lists that exists in SharePoint since forever. Now they have a better interface, allow better customization, but behind the scenes, it's still the good and old SharePoint Lists. It's a flexible data storage, so you are not constrained by all the rules from classic databases. You will be able to build your own schema and combine multiple lists or tables, if you want to call it, to create a parallelism between databases and lists inside of your SharePoint site or inside of your personal OneDrive, and that will be your data repository for the information. So This is a brief description of what Microsoft Lists is. It has more functionalities than this bit description, but on today's session, I would like to focus on features rather than doing an introduction session about what Microsoft Lists is. So let's jump right into the scenario that I would like to present to you. This is Gino. Gino, it's a college basketball coach, and even though Gino exists and is one of the best basketball coaches in the world, the story that I'm presenting you here, it's completely fictional. So Gino wants to create a solution for Microsoft Teams. This is the problem, to help him manage the information. So Gino has already a team where he has all the players, all the assistant coaches, and other team members, and he wants to create a system to easily share information about the game and to easily help him to make and take decisions based on what the data and the numbers for each players are and for each game. So the main goal for Gino is to get a list of all the team players and get the game calendar in a central location that it's available to everyone instead of having it on paper. Getting the game results, and most importantly, getting the game statistics, so he can pick who is performing better at each time of the season. So this is the problem. This is what Gino wants to automate and bring to the digital world. And this is what he currently has. So this is a piece of paper that shows the statistics for a specific basketball game. It has all the information that Gino needs. It has the name of the players. It has the points that were scored by each player, the attempts, the number of minutes that were played, the end result, the date. Everything is here. The problem is that is a single sheet of paper, and it's either with Gino or it's in a physical location, and it's not easily accessible to everyone everywhere. So in order to create this, the solution will be to create 3 different lists, one to store the players and just the players. All information related with the players will be stored in this list. Another one to store the games. This will include the name of the game, the date, and even the score once the game ends. And then combining all these 3 things, we will end up with the statistics list, showing in Microsoft Teams something similar to what is shown here in this piece of paper. So without further ado, let's jump right into Microsoft Lists and let's see how the lists for this solution work. So, for those of you that are not familiar with Microsoft Lists yet, Microsoft Lists is available as an application inside of Microsoft 365, but it's also available as a progressive web app, and that's what I have here. So this is the desktop version of Microsoft Lists. It has the same features of the web version. I use it just for convenience because it gets easily available on my computer, and I can open it just with one click. Ignore all the lists that I have here in my favorites. So the lists that will be focused on today are the players, the games, and the stats. I've created them already, and there's some data on them that will help us to understand how Microsoft Lists work and what are the features included in Microsoft Lists. So each list that I have here have different types of information and makes use of different features provided by this platform. So let's start by seeing what the players list looks like. And this is a super simple list. By default, when you create a new blank list, you will get the title column, and the title here is being used to store the name of the player. And I only added the photo of each player to make it easy to identify who is who, the number that the player uses in each game, the position, and the height. There's an auxiliary column here, but this is something that will not be relevant for the information that is stored in the list, and we will come back to this column later on at the end of the session to show you how to use columns that are not used to store relevant data, but still are useful to see things differently in Microsoft Lists. Okay, so this is the list for the players. If I would like to include something like the phone number or the email, I just have to click on the add column, select the type of column that I would like to add, type the name of the column, for example, single line of text, email, and then it would be just an extra column here, and the data will be able to be filtered by the coach or by someone else. So this is the most straightforward list that you will be able to get inside of Microsoft Teams. Inside of Microsoft Lists, it's just a few columns, all of them available here in the default column types, and nothing more. Super simple to use. One other list that we have here is the games. And the games, again, it was a super simple list to create, but in here we have already more advanced features that exist in Microsoft Lists. So again, the title was used to store the name of the two teams that are playing this game. There's the result, the date of the game, the physical location where it will happen, if it was a win or if they lost the game, and then all the information that is here, label, team, result for team 1, team 2, and result for team 2. All this information is calculated based on the information that exists in here. So there's no need for Gino and the assistant coaches to manually fill all these columns. They will be super useful for the end result of the solution, but they are being calculated from the information that already exists here. So there's the title with the name of the teams, and also the result with the result for the team. So this list, when a new item is added here, is added without the result. So this list is the one that will fill the calendar for the calendar solution that Gino also wants to get inside of Microsoft Teams, which means that whoever will be managing this list will have to access to the list first to create a new item, and then once the game ends, it will have to access to the list one more time to update the item with the result and with if it was a win or a lost game. And to prevent errors and to make things easier, this list specifically has a configuration in the form that creates 3 separate sections. So when a new item is created, the only area that needs to be filled is the new game. Then when the game ends, that's the only thing that needs to be modified, the post game. And then the calculated fields, they appear here in the new item form, but in reality, they are only shown when you click in the item detail. So this is how it looks like. If I would like to edit this, I would be able to do still keeping the same formatting for the form. So this modification of the form was made using exclusively what Microsoft Lists provide. In the past, it used to have to be different types of tools that Microsoft created over the years to modify the forms. It's still possible to modify these forms with Power Apps. If you want to build something more complex, that's totally fine, and it's fully supported by Microsoft. But for simple things like creating different sections to help the users fill out the list and create new items or edit the items, Microsoft is actually allowing you to create and modifying the form with JSON. So the JSON is not, or may not seem that it's straightforward, but it's in reality, it's super easy to use. So the JSON, it's created with objects and properties, and I will not explain extensively what JSON is here, but if you look here, it has one section here, and inside of each section, there are then section objects showing that they have the property to get the display name and what fields from the list are displayed in each section. So this is super easy to use. Even if you are not familiar with JSON, there are a lot of samples provided in the PNP repository that you can grab to start, and in the Microsoft documentation there are also a lot of samples that you can copy and paste here and modify according to your needs. So it's super easy. Again, just the display name, the fields, and the name of the fields, and you will be creating this kind of interface. For the calculated fields, I mentioned in the previous list that all the information that was being added and was created to the list was available here in the add column. Calculated fields is not yet one of those types of information. So I need to click in the more to access them from SharePoint to the calculated field and apply a formula to create the data that it's displayed in here. Again, Microsoft has a lot of samples in the documentation. It's not super relevant to show you how that's created now. If we have time at the end of the session, and if you would like to see it, then I can come back to this topic and explain it a bit further. All right, so now we've seen the two first lists, players and games, and these lists are not connected to each other. So they are two different lists, completely disconnected. At this point, we don't have information about what were the players that played in a specific game, what were the metrics for each player, and what was the game result. So to get that, we will need to create a relationship between what will be the stats and what will be then the players and the game. And here it is, the complete stats table. And if I go back here and if I bring it now, well, it doesn't look that different from this piece of paper now converted to Microsoft lists. And what we have here is again a list of inside of Microsoft lists, but if you look close, there's no title column here. It starts with player and number followed by the player name, and then there's the game and the result. And if you look here, it has kind of a hyperlink, and when you click on this hyperlink, it sends the user directly to the player that it's being mentioned here. So what is happening here is that there are lookup columns in this list that get information from other lists that exist in the site that allow to create and enforce the relationship between games, players, and the statistics. To create the lookup columns, again, you need to go to the add column, select lookup, and provide the name. Select the list from where do you want to get the data from, and then select the name of the column. Going to the more options, you will be able not only to select the name of the column that will be your main column for the lookup, but also other columns that exist in the list. this will allow you to get multiple columns from other lists inside of your main list without the need to manually fill all that information. And this is also super useful if something changes in the players or in the games or in the main list, it will be automatically reflected in this list as well. So there's no need for you to go manually and review all the lists where eventually a player was mentioned, or moving this for a more enterprise scenario, a customer or an equipment was modified or was added or removed. So that will be managed globally from one single location, and it will affect all the lists where it's referenced. As you can see, there's the player and the number and the player, but if I look here to the form, that information does not appear in here. It appears in the results, in the end result for the table, to help us to understand what is connected to the player, but that's it. When the coach is adding the information to this list at the end of the game, the only thing it has to do is select the name of the player, fill the statistics, and then select what game is this about, and that's it. All the other information will be added automatically to the list. As you can see, things here look a bit different than in the other lists. There are collapsible sections, and these collapsible sections happen to be a feature that exists in Microsoft lists. So if I wasn't using this, and if I wasn't grouping the information by label, I wouldn't have the information separated by the game, so it would be masked and completely impossible to consume, to identify what were the players that played in each game and the information related to a specific game. So to create this, the only thing that you have to do is go to the column that you would like to group for and group by something. In this case, it's label, but if I want to group this by, for example, player, I would be able to, and the list would show me the information about the player for each game where the player played. So in this example here, this object is showing as this because this top area was formatted and is not prepared to show this information. I will show you that in a minute. But this player here, number 3, we can see that she started 2 games, and the third game she started on the bench, and here are the results, and if it was a win or a loss. So it's super easy to group information. You will not be changing how data is stored. You are just changing how the information is being shown to you. And if you don't save this view as a custom view, you will not be affecting other users consuming information. So now that I've created this, if I would like to save this to all the users to see, I would have the option to either save this current view with the settings that I've defined, or save it as another view. And I can override the all items to look like this, or I can create a new name, and that would be a new view. So let's override the all items, and let's make it the default view. So whenever a new user opens this list here or anywhere else inside of Microsoft 365, this is what they will see immediately. There are also another thing that exists here under each game, and here at the bottom, there are the totals. And totals can be calculated for each column. And in this specific scenario, I'm creating a sum of all the numbers in the column, but it could be an average, a maximum, a minimum. It's up to the specific request and the specific requirement for each column type. There is also the possibility to create totals to help to understand what is happening in that specific column and in that specific group. All right, so we've seen how the information is grouped by game, how it can be grouped by something else, how the information can be how this information can provide us more about what happened in a specific game by using the totals. Now let's see how we can filter this information by player or by any other field. So if I want to filter by, let's say, by page and I apply, all that I will see is the results, the numbers for this specific player in each specific game. So this filter option is always available, and it's not specific for this column type for the lookup. It's available for all types of columns in all lists. So you will be always able to refine the information that you see inside of the list using this functionality. One thing that it's different from the filters and the what we've seen previously is that you are not able to save this view with the filter applied. It's just for you, and once you refresh the list, then it goes away. Next time you come back, you will have to reapply the filter. So this is the solution that Gino and the coaches were able to put together, but it's fully disconnected still from Microsoft Teams. The team in Teams do not see any of this, even though the information is already there. It's not easily accessible. So to show you how you can bring all of this to Microsoft Teams, let me minimize this, close this one here, and I will bring Microsoft Teams. This is the team. This is the team structure for the basketball team. There are a few channels. There are shared channels, private channels, and regular channels. And to share this information and to make this information available, all we have to do is add a new app here. There are two different ways of adding the lists to Microsoft Teams. One is using the SharePoint app. The other one is using the lists application. Both work, but they have different layouts, and the lists looks better and works better and give you more flexibility in terms of what you can do than the SharePoint one. So I will use the lists instead. And since the lists were created in this site, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but when you create the list, you have to select a location where to create them. Each team in Microsoft Teams has a SharePoint behind the scenes, and the lists were created in that SharePoint site already, which means that they are here already available for us to add. So I will click in the add existing list, and the application is smart enough to get me just the lists from this site. So the first thing that I would like to add is the players. All right. So the players and this list will show exactly what we've seen, but the layout is not that appealing, and since there's a photo here, we might be able to change things a bit. And what I will do here is change the gallery, change this view to the gallery. Gallery is not the default view of this list, which means that if I go to another tab, and if I come back then to the players, the view is gone and the information is back to the tabular view. But this can be easily solved by switching to the gallery view. Now I get all the photos. I really like this, so I will save this view as the default view, and that's it. Now everyone will be able to see the photos. Everyone will be able to easily identify the players, and when I click in one of the players, it still opens the player detail, and I'm able to access to all the information. So super simple to use. This style view gets the information more prominently shown in the team, and this was one of the requirements of Gino: get all the information about the players available inside of Microsoft Teams. The other requirement was to have the calendar. And the calendar for the games can be added in a similar way. So I will go select lists, and from the list application, and now I will get the games. Same thing here. It looks like what we've seen before. It's the tabular view. It's not intuitive enough for us to understand when and to see visually in a month view. That's what we are formatted to see in the calendar, what is happening when. So I already have the calendar view created here, but I will show you how you can create one. You just need to go to create the new view, type calendar or whatever you would like to add. Here, select calendar and select what is the what are the columns that will be used to define the begin and the end of the event. It's mandatory. Well, it's not mandatory to have this information filled in the list, but it's mandatory to identify one column here of the type date. If you don't have one specifically, there's always the created and modified columns, and those are always available for you to pick, and then you can select what is the text shown in the calendar. So I will not create this view because I already have it here. So the only thing I need to do is select the calendar. And as you can see here in the calendar, there are my games already here defined. So if I select the day, I can see the time when it will start, the name of the game, and if I want to see more about it, I just need to double click, and again I get all the information that we've seen before. This includes the results and the custom form that was built in Microsoft Lists, and that is all available in here. Again, this is not the default view. If I want to get it as default for the games here, I can as well. All I have to do is set the calendar as the default view. And now here or in the Microsoft lists, what will happen when someone opens the list is that they will see the calendar view by default, giving a real idea when and where the games happened. All right, so this was the second requirement of Gino. So I will get back here, and now we can easily do the same thing that we did with the players and the games to show the statistics, but that would be just getting what we've seen before in the lists inside of Microsoft Teams, and that was covered already. Again, super easy. It's available for you to use. Now let's build something a bit better that is also available inside of the Microsoft Suite, and that would be the possibility for Gino to easily filter the player for the game or each game in the statistics directly from a list and with a nice layout. And to do that, I'll need to go back here to SharePoint, and I need to go to this page that already has the photo of the team, but that's it. It doesn't have any other thing. And to build this filtering option, I will use what Microsoft provides out of the box, that it's the possibility to use the lists web part. And the lists web part, it's smart enough, like the Microsoft Lists app in Teams, gets me all the lists that exist in this site collection. Again, this site collection, this SharePoint site is the site behind the team in Microsoft Teams. So it was created when the team was created. Gino didn't have to do anything to get all of this configured and set up. So here I will select the stats. And since this page will be just to consume information and will not be something that the coaches will use to add information from here, what I will do is edit the web part, and I will get rid of the command bar. So this information you share, all of that will go away, and the see all goes away as well. So we don't get access from here to the complete list, and we get more space in the page to get what we want. Again, on this side, I will add another list, and here, instead of selecting the stats, I will select the players, and I will get rid of the players and the command bar and the see all, and I will hit the apply button. So now that I have the two lists in the same page, I can get all the information that I need to, but well, first, this is huge. It's not useful at all. And if I click or if I select one of the players, there's nothing happening on this side here. So we need to make this list to refine the information in here. So we've seen how this is done in Microsoft Lists with the filters. Now let's see how this can be easily done in a nice and beautiful way, directly from a SharePoint page that will be then added as an app inside of Microsoft Teams. That can be done directly from the web part settings, the list web part settings. There's this dynamic filtering option here that allows you to filter information in this list based on information that exists in other lists. So in the stats column, in the stats list, the column that I want to use to filter is the player. All right, so the player is the lookup column, and my players in this page are in the players list. And in the players list, the name of the player, that it's what is being used here to filter, is the title column. So I will have to select the title. So when I will hit apply here. And now if I go here and select player number 3, it already shows the information for player number 3 and for this specific game. So I get all the data for this specific player, or even for multiple players for the games that exist here. Super useful, but again, the layout and the interface is awful, and it's not intuitive at all to select. So what I will do here is click in the edit button of the player's web part, go to the view, and this view was created by me. It has a formatting. I will show you the JSON in a minute, but this was way more complex than the JSON that was used to create the form. But again, if you are not super comfortable with this, there are a lot of samples in the PNP community, and Microsoft has samples as well in the documentation. This one mixes CSS, HTML, and JSON in the same files, so it's not that straightforward, but it's not super difficult as well. So it's just a matter of looking to the samples and then try to replicate it on your own scenario. This completes the solution for this specific scenario. Now I have all the players here. I don't need to go anywhere to see the information about the players, so I can easily filter them by clicking and selecting here. So I can see the photo, the number, and the name, and that gives me all the information that I need from the statistics column. But now what? This is in SharePoint. It's disconnected from Teams, at least visually. How do we get this into Microsoft Teams? How do we bring this third piece to the solution that is being built inside of Microsoft Teams? So what I will do here is add a new app. Instead of lists, I will use SharePoint now. And this app, what it will do is, and I don't need to post anything about this in this channel, this allows me to get the pages directly. As I mentioned before, it also gives us access to the lists, but I rather prefer to use the Microsoft dedicated list, even because with the Microsoft lists app, you are able to create new lists. This only allows you to select the lists that already exist. From here, I will be able to select my page, hit the save button, and let me hide this conversation. It's not doing here anything. And here it is, my page with both lists still working and data being refined. So everything that Gino had in the that old piece of paper and more is now available as a single solution. Yes, there's code, there's source code running technically to format the lists to make them look pretty, but any of this is necessary to create a solution like this one. Just to show you how the formatting looks like, what a formatting for a list is and how it looks like. Let me go here to the players and let me bring up the filters or the filters, and let me open the format current view. So what you see here was created with this JSON. As you can see, there's just 74 lines of code. Is not that much, but yeah, I know this can be overwhelming, but there's a trick that you can use if you would like to start playing with formatting. So let me go back here to the all items and let me select list. As you can see, the position is also formatted here. So it's not displaying text like this one here. It's displaying it with color, and that was made with the interface that Microsoft Lists provides for you to format lists. The good thing about this is that what is running behind the scenes, it's actually code, which means that if you want to get a sneak peek of what is being generated behind the scenes, you would be able to. So you can start creating your formatting for the columns using the interface that Microsoft Lists provide. And then once you get it, click in the advanced mode in the formatting and just simply look to what is the code being generated in here. So there are a lot of classes. This is referring to all the colors that are being used here, but don't worry, all these colors, all these classes are explained in the documentation from Microsoft. So you don't have to worry about knowing this on top of your mind, but you just need to know that, well, they exist and they are available for you to use and to consume here. So this is a nice way for you to get started with formatting. If at any time things go wrong and they stop working, you will not be messing any of the information that exists in the list. The only thing that will happen is that it will not show information here, but data is still stored to get everything reset to display the information that was displayed by default. All you have to do is delete the JSON and you will see the information as plain text as it is here right now. All right, we still have a few minutes left. And there are two more things that I would like to show and to talk about for you to understand how these things work. Let me go back here to the lists and let me go to the games. I've mentioned that this list has a custom form that needs to be modified, and each item needs to be modified twice. It can be done directly here, or it can be done somewhere else inside of Microsoft Teams. So to help the coaches to easily access these forms and this information, this could be done with any other form for any other list. We can copy the link for the form, and now in Microsoft Teams, I'll go to the private channel, and private channels are a bit different inside of Microsoft Teams. They generate a new SharePoint site, which means that I will have to add the new game form as a website rather than a SharePoint site to show the form specifically. And looks like that I did it already. This website app allows me to create games directly from here. So if I just need to create a new game, I go to the coaches channel, open the new game type, fill the information, save, boom, that's it. I don't need to open the list. I don't need to do any other thing. It's always available here for me to use directly from the desktop, from my phone in my pocket. It's available everywhere. This is one of the tricks that you can do to take advantage of something that Microsoft gets already inside of Microsoft lists. The other thing that I would like to show you, and this is the last thing that I have prepared for the session, is the board view. And remember that I mentioned that there was an auxiliary column in the players. Sorry, opened the wrong one. In the players list, that is this GS column. This GS stands for Game Start. And this would be super useful for coaches to decide who will play a specific game. So when they are discussing who will be the players that will start the game, they could easily create a new view, and this new view would be the type board. And when you select the type board, what you will have here, it's a column that needs to be the type choice. So this column here has two options: if the player will start the game or if the player will start in the bench. If it's empty, means that the player will not play that specific game. And to make things easier, this view creates automatically three swim lanes: one for unassigned items, one for players that will start the game, and another one for the players that will start in the bench. So all I have to do is move players around, and This way, I get my team for a specific game. This could be shared with the players. This could be kept internally by making this view private, and it's not something that we need to keep for every single game, as that information is kept in the statistics list. So when the game ends and when I no longer need this, I can easily get all the players back to the assigned items. And by doing this, I will be creating easy ways to show information and to change how the information looks like. Just to show you what is happening here behind the scenes, let me get player number 3 and number 10, and let me go now back to the all items. And as you can see, I didn't do anything in this view, but this changed to game start and this changed to bench. So super simple to modify information. This was just an example, more oriented to sport and to schools, but you can apply this to the enterprise world easily. So whatever scenario you have, whatever Excel spreadsheet you are using to manage the information, I'm sure that you will be able to get all that information into Microsoft lists, and you will be able to start creating Microsoft lists that will be able then to share in Teams. One thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning of the session is how to create a new list. And when you create a new list, you are able to create a blank list. You are able to create it from templates that exist in your organization, either provided by Microsoft or provided by your own organization. This could be lists created by you that then need to be saved as templates by the administrator using PowerShell. Unfortunately, there is no graphical user interface to this still, but PowerShell is available. I have an article on my blog that explains how this can be done. Or if you are living in Excel and would like to get that data in that Excel broadly available elsewhere, you can import your own Excel file here. And that gets not only the structure of the Excel, but also all the data that exists there. Then once you select what type of lists you would like to start, you can either save the list on your personal list, and that way only you will have access to them, or select a SharePoint site to save them. The SharePoint site could be a team, or it could be just a regular SharePoint site where the information then will be all stored. And with this, I conclude this presentation.
Thanks so much, João. There's a few questions in already. If anybody else has a question, there's still some time to ask. Just to ask the ones that have come in so far. First of all, I have somebody asking if you can share the JSON used for these examples.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will create a blog post in my handsonlists.net blog, and I will link it there for a GitHub repo. If you go to the blog, there you will be able to find other samples there that I did already. And if you want to start with something else, you can also go to pnp.github.io, and from the samples and solution, look for formatting. And then there are column view formatting, and if you click on the learn more, for example, view samples, and it redirects you to the GitHub. There's tons of them. Now here, one that I did recently was this to-do format that changes Microsoft list to look like a to-do, a Microsoft to-do list. and everything along with the instructions is available here, including the source code. So I will create something like this in my own GitHub repo, and I will link it to in my blog, hands-on-lists.net. So you will be able to access to it.
That's great, Joe. Thank you. And you can share the link with me, and I'll also put it on our website with the webinar recording.
Absolutely.
So another one, is there any way to incorporate team chat or some other common functionality? Let's say you need to discuss elements of a list with different colleagues.
Yes, it will. There are two different ways of doing that. So let me go here to Teams, and let me go here to the players. So you can either do that by using the conversation that exists for the app that should be available here. No, sorry, it's not here. It's in the general channel. Come on. All right, so if I go here to the players, there's, well, it should be here. It's not, I have no idea why, but there's a conversation for each app that will allow you to have a conversation around this app globally. The information will not be tied to a specific item. If you would like to have a conversation around a specific item, what you can use is the comments, and this will be attached to the specific item, and you will be able to mention someone else that will get then notified that there was a mention and a comment. And now that I said this, the conversation just popped here, and this is how comments look like. This is how the conversation look like. So you have these two different ways of adding extra and unstructured information to the list item.
That's great, Joe. Thank you. So where are Microsoft lists stored? So
Microsoft lists are stored in your personal SharePoint site or OneDrive if you create them just for you, or in the SharePoint site that exists behind a team in Microsoft Teams, or if it's just a regular SharePoint site with no group, no team associated in the SharePoint site. So in resume, all data lives in SharePoint.
Okay. Can lists shown in this session be saved as templates in Microsoft Lists?
Yeah, so lists can be saved as templates. They will, when you create a new list, you can use an existing list as a template if you have access to that list. So you can create a list based on another list, and that would be technically a template. The problem here is that if you don't have access to the site where the list that the template for the list that you would like to use is, and that can be solved by the organization list templates. As I mentioned, this information is the information on how to create this is not available in the UI of SharePoint lists. It requires the use of PowerShell. But here in my blog, I've created a PowerShell that allows you to easily grab one and create it as a template with all the possible options that that you could use. So the layout would be a command line still, but it has a menu, and you just need to pick numbers, and it will create the list as template for other users to use.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Just time for one final question. Can document libraries be formatted using the same approach used in this session?
Yeah, so the same formatting that is used in lists, in the list views and in the list columns can be also applied to document libraries. Technically, document libraries are also lists. So yeah, that's possible as well.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we have then. On behalf of the ESPC community, thank you, João, for taking the time today. We really appreciate it. It was a brilliant presentation.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And that's the end of today's presentation. Thanks everybody for joining us. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, and you'll be notified by email when it's available. Thanks again, and goodbye.
All right, goodbye. Have a good day.